So the Premier League has officially concluded. What a final day to the season we witnessed. Match a day 38, producing some magical as well as entertaining moments. But then Chelsea are officially back into the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 3 seasons. So the last time they competed in the UEFA Champions League was the 2022-2023 seasons. But since then, they've been missing. They've gone AWOL. They returned to Europe just last season, but unfortunately, it was in the UEFA Conference League. And they are still playing. They could also be playing for the trophy. Maybe later when they face Real Betis. But interestingly, they also qualified for the Champions League by setting a record. So Chelsea happens to be the side or the only side in the history of the Premier League to have fielded the youngest team across an entire season. So the average age of the players that played for Chelsea throughout the season was 24 years and 36 days. That's quite interesting. And that's a record that Enzo Maresca will be proud of, which tells that the future of this Chelsea team, is still bright. So some of the youngsters they fielded was Tarek George, Kane Chukwuemeka, Renato Veiga, Levi Colwill, Malo Gusto. These are some of the young players still playing for Chelsea, and they featured throughout the season. But then you talk about how they qualified on match day 38. Everyone was thinking that it was going to be difficult for Chelsea coming up against Nottingham Forest. So the game was at the City Ground, and it was Levi Colwill, one of the youngsters in Chelsea that we're currently talking about. He was the one who got the goal. Pedro Neto assisting him to get the only goal that saw Chelsea climb into the top 4, and they finished 4th, which means that Chelsea will be playing in the UEFA Champions League under Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca himself was quite elated with the performance his side put up because Chelsea, at some point this season were challenging for the trophy, which eventually we saw Liverpool lift. But then you can also take away the fact that, Chelsea has been great this season regardless. And even their run in the UEFA Conference League tells a lot about how promising this team is and what we should expect from this Chelsea team in the next couple of years. Don't forget, Caicedo has been voted a Chelsea Player of the Season, and then also Romeo Lavia has been great for them. Enzo Fernandez also is one of the players we can always talk about, and then also Nicholas Jackson leading the attack for them. But then people are questioning, the quality of some of the players, because Chelsea will be playing against some of the top clubs across Europe next season in the UEFA Champions League. Some are saying even Nicholas Jackson is not good enough to start for Chelsea, not to talk about leading the lines for them. He scored a chunk of goals this season, but then that wasn't quite enough as per the average numbers of the best strikers we've seen in Europe this season. But then interestingly, on match day 38, we witnessed other shocking results where Newcastle also lost at home to Everton, which meant that they were so fortunate because Manchester United also did Newcastle a favour by beating Aston Villa at Old Trafford. So that was United's first win in the Premier League in close to 2 months. It tells you they've not really been good themselves. But on match day 38, they were so superb that they managed to beat a 10-man Villa by 2-0. Christian Eriksen scoring the second for them after Amad Diallo had put the Red Devils up, which had so much implications as far as the Champions League places is concerned. So Liverpool, the eventual champions, were crowned, they were first, or they finished first in the league. Arsenal followed as runners-up. There was also Manchester City, who recorded a 2-0 win at the Craven Cottage. Gundogan also scoring in that game for them. Then Chelsea, after their win against Nottingham Forest, managed to finish 4th. Then, just like I said, Newcastle, despite suffering a setback, they got defeated by Everton at home, but then they still managed to make it into the top 4 or top 5, which means that Newcastle will definitely be playing in the UEFA Champions League in the 2025-2026 season. But then in the Europa League plays was Aston Villa. Quite a shocking performance, and they are already complaining to the FA about the referee who handled their game because they felt that their goalkeeper was harshly sent off for an offense that didn't really warrant a red card. So Aston Villa are still fuming, and I don't know what the FA could do about that. But then one of the teams that started so brightly and then ended up, being so poor would always be Nottingham Forest. They started on a very, very bright note. They found themselves in the top 3 for larger parts of the season, but unfortunately, they could only settle for 7th after losing to Chelsea on match day 38. So, yes, for the first time in close to 30 years, we'll see Nottingham Forest represent England in Europe, but it's not going to be the UEFA Champions League, a competition they've won before. It's going to be the UEFA Europa Conference League. That is where Nottingham Forest will belong for the meantime. So far, 9 teams will be representing England in Europe, 5 in the UEFA Champions League. We've seen Aston Villa also qualify for the Europa League, same as the FA Cup winners, and that has to be Crystal Palace. They will also be playing in the UEFA Europa League, and then Nottingham Forest will also be playing in the UEFA Europa Conference League. So Chelsea back to the UEFA Champions League. It's quite okay because some people are even predicting that definitely the UEFA Champions League might produce another Chelsea-Barcelona game in the UEFA Champions League. I can't, wait for that, and I hope you also can't wait for that.